Today, I sat down with Mike Pellecchia, who is the regional sales manager for Vac-Con in the West. We went over how he got his nickname, No Finger Mike, and his start in the industry. Let's get into it.
Fire it up!
Some of the stories we can't tell.
You don't get a second chance to make a good first impression.
Now I actually
Now you know me.
Now I know you.
Yeah. VacconJohn,
What's cracking?
how are you?
I'm good, man. How
Thanks
are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
To sit down on the old VacconJohn show. We only get to see each other like twice a year, maybe 3 times a year.
Yeah,
So
maybe.
when we
At the
do
most.
get to all get together, all the regional managers, all the Vac-Con people in one room getting to sit down, it's like it's just a field day. We have a good time.
It's a good time.
We have a good
Yeah,
time.
we got to catch up.
Yeah. So Western Regional Sales Manager.
Correct.
And now, as of yesterday,
Yes,
you've
sir.
been with Vac-Con for 14 years.
That's correct.
So I've been with Vac-Con for almost 4 years. So it's like I'm just, very, very low in the industry as far as time spent compared to you. I know you're an old man, so we're trying to get into it, and it's crazy that you've been here for 14 years. But we're gonna get into kind of the background of everything. But first things first.
Yeah.
One story I want to hear from you.
You do.
We do. No Finger Mike.
Right.
So nicknames. Every time I call him, it's like No Finger Mike. What's going on? It's just his caller ID now is No Finger Mike. Why are you No Finger Mike? Do the peekaboo. There we go.
Yeah.
So
Best
those of you
hide
that
and
are
go
on the-
seek player.
yeah, for those of you that are on video, you can see he's missing his left ring finger. But let's hear how did that all happen?
Oh gosh. So it was March 12th, 2009, and I worked for an auction company, and I appraised yellow iron.
Yeah, big
Pretty
stuff.
much. Yeah, right.
Mining equipment.
Yes, correct. And I wouldn't wear any jewelry while I appraise it because I'm climbing all over this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I had traveled for about, I don't know, maybe 5-6 hours, go to the other side of the state because I lived in Boise, Idaho at that point. And it was just on the west side of Jackson Hole, Wyoming, in Driggs, Idaho. Never forget it.
I bet.
And got up in the morning, couldn't find my ring or my wallet, and I thought I lost them. And it was a
Rough night?
It was no. It was just no. I just never wore it because I was all over.
Yeah, you would never wear a metal ring because you were scared of what could happen.
Yeah, I always heard the horror stories.
Yeah.
So that morning, I went back into my my bag, and in my pants pocket was my ring and my wallet. I used to carry my ring in my right front pocket, my wallet in my left. And I grabbed them out, and that I was worried, and I put my ring on that morning, first time in, while working. Anyway, we get out there, and I'm on this mining rock crushing equipment. And instead of walking around the half mile of the plant, I told the guy in front of me that I was going to jump down and just get the serial number off the plate. And I jump off, and I put my left hand back with my ring finger on, and it catches just like a small barb that had been like sticking out.
Like a little rough step or
Yes,
something?
correct.
Ugh.
I just put my hand back like this, and it caught the back side, and it completely snapped it off. Now, at this time, I don't know that this has happened, but I know something tragic, something really bad has happened. I thought my hand had split open, anyway.
Splayed.
Yeah, right. So I hit
You
the
didn't
ground.
you didn't know how bad it was.
Well, I knew it was bad.
You thought it was probably worse than it was, but you
Yes,
just you were
correct.
freaking
I mean,
out.
it was still worse, John. I mean, I
Adrenaline's
lost my
high.
finger,
Yeah,
right?
adrenaline's high. Yeah.
So I hit the ground, and this guy's eyes are like in front of me, and he takes off running. And well, little do I know that I still don't know that my finger is still stuck up there, and it had popped off, and it's like circling around the air
tendon?
because your tendon is like a tape measure, and it starts retracting back into your arm. It had stretched so bad, and the guy turns around, looks at me, and he says, "I catch my finger in midair, and I throw it into my palm, and I close my hand on it, right?" And I'm like, "Hey, help!" Right? And so he comes back, and I said, "Hey, look, my keys are in my right front pocket. If you could just pull those out and start my car, I got to go to the hospital." And he said, "Well, you're not driving anywhere." I was like,
But you had just caught your finger, so
Yeah,
you were thinking I'm good.
I'm good.
Just,
well,
my
I
hand-eye coordination's
I
there.
won't even look. I don't even know what's happened, but I know it's not good.
So was it like? Did you have blood everywhere?
No.
Like, it was just clean.
No, in fact, I had a drop of blood on my one drop on my pants, and then I had blood obviously
On your
pooled
hand,
in
yeah.
my hand.
Oof.
But they take me into this clinic, not even to a hospital, and they're like, "Honey, you can let go." And I'm like, "No, I can't." And they're like, "Oh, no, you can." And I'm like, "No, I've been holding it for so long and so hard that they were peeling my fingers back."
Oh.
And at that point, they gave me morphine and Valium, and they had to take me eventually in an ambulance over to Jackson Hole to have surgery, but they had to call my wife at the time to get permission because I was so out of it.
Oh.
I was, drugged up. But yeah, so well, that's what you get.
And now you got your little games that you can play with your no finger, showing everybody.
Right, I
figure
can
out.
clip my fingernails faster than anybody.
But it really is like, it goes to show, like, the silicone rings are there for a reason.
Correct.
Like, that's some scary stuff.
Yeah, it was quite something.
Yeah.
And I use it as a tool now when I'm training on
Yeah,
Vac-Cons,
yeah.
right? Like, don't wear jewelry, and I know I'm wearing them now, but I'm not out training. Anytime I'm out, I don't wear anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't.
So that was before you got started. So that was prior to your 14 years of Vac-Con. So, it's funny. Once you get, I know that it was a family thing. It's kind of like similar to me.
Right. Correct.
A lot of people in the Vac-Con industry are all tied in
Yes.
family-wise.
Right.
So how did you get jump started? What was the move like? How did you even get interested in this?
So my father spent, I don't know, probably 25, 30 years in the industry. He also
Terry.
worked. Yeah, Terry.
Shout out Terry Pellecchia.
Terry Pellecchia. He's a
Do you
legend.
think he can turn on YouTube here and figure out?
I don't know. I'll have to
You'll
show him.
help
I'll have to show him. Now he spent so many years in the industry. He started out in the restaurant industry and then worked for his cousin selling Aquatex.
Oh, okay.
Right, and then he got together with Brad Lowe from EnviroClean, and they both worked there. Brad worked out of Portland, Oregon. He worked out of Seattle, Washington. And at one point, they had to stop selling Elgin sweepers, and they were mandated to sell a competitive brand, and they both wouldn't do it. And so they met up with Daryl,
founder of Vac-Con.
and Todd.
Yep.
And they both said, "Why don't you guys take over Washington and Oregon?" And at this point, I've got a big family, and my mom was like, "Hey, listen, that's a big overtaking, right?"
Yeah. Traveling all the time.
Yeah. And so my father said he didn't want to be a dealer, and Daryl and Todd said, "Why don't you come work for us and run the West Coast?" So that's
So
how
he became a regional just like that.
Yes, just
Okay.
like that.
So he was the regional sales manager for the West.
Yeah, in fact, I think he was besides Todd.
Yeah.
He was the one out here for the first time, and he's a legend.
Yeah.
The guy's incredible.
Yeah.
we know, right?
I only know because, my dad would have him over at the house. So like, I'm a little kid, like 8, 9 years old, running around, and Terry's staying at the house. Just like, he'd come in probably once every 3 months, be like, "Oh, Terry's here."
Terry's here.
He kind of came to the house every 3 months. And hung out.
There's still stories about that. I mean, he would ask your mom for an ironing board and an iron.
Yeah. So like, my mom is like, "Oh, Terry, like, You got anything you need me to iron up? Like, I guess this is back in the, like nowadays. I don't really like go iron everything in my hotel room, but back then everybody was wearing like pleated pants and everything was crisp and we're wearing nice dress shirts on demos. And Terry's like, I'm ironing my own shit.
Oh,
I don't want anybody ironing my stuff. So my mom would have to like leave an ironing board and an iron outside of his room. He'd come in, iron everything early in the morning.
Yeah.
I'd like wake up to go to like early morning workouts in high school when I was like playing football, and he's like got the door open, he's got like his shirt off, he's in his underwear, like ironing stuff in the spare bedroom. I'm like, oh, he's up early,
He still does that.
Right. But so
Anyway, so let me jump back into that. So I saw the success he had, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I love that he was always on the road, and I was used to doing that anyway.
Yeah.
And I wanted in, and so what I did was I had worked for a tobacco company selling cigarettes, of all things, right? Anyway, I quit that job, and I actually started selling parts and pieces just on my own.
Right.
And took out an SBA loan and jumped into it and covered Washington and Oregon, and then EnviroClean wanted me, they hired me, bought out all my inventory, and that's where I started. So I was actually with EnviroClean for probably, I think 3-4 years.
Just being in like Washington, Oregon area.
Yeah, well,
covering their
I would
territory.
cover Washington for them,
Okay.
Western Washington, actually Eastern as well. But that's where I started.
Mm-hmm.
And
so that's where you were baptized in this type of equipment.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
Dude, I saw it and I was like, this is incredible. Like this is what I want to do. I want to retire in this industry. A lot of people don't even know, right,
Mm-hmm.
John? I mean, we were talking about earlier when you flush the toilet, nobody knows where it goes.
It's like a gray area that people don't really like realize that people are maintaining the backside of all of that all the
and
time.
guess what? That in-ground infrastructure is never going to change.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Not in our lifetime,
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
So and plus we get to play with toys
all the time. Well,
and it's incredible.
That's the cool thing about like what we do is we're in sales, but it's not like a typical sales job.
No,
Like we every day is different. We travel all over the place. Like so, you're out west. I'm in the south, but we're on the sales side. But we also get to demo and run equipment pretty much every day. So
Yes.
we're not just being like a sales guy that's sitting at a computer all the time. We're running the trucks. We're cleaning sewer lines, hydro excavating, cleaning lift stations pretty much every day.
Yeah,
And
nobody understands it.
no, and that's the funny thing I was going to bring up. When I'm like at a Christmas party or I'm like hanging out with like my wife and like our friends at home, they're like, "What do you do, John?" It's like, "Oh boy, like
here we go.
how do I explain
This is gonna
exactly
take
what
a
we
while,
do?" Because
right.
what is the terminology? I sell vacuum trucks. That doesn't really cover it because we sell jetters.
No,
too.
they think like pumper trucks.
Yeah, or septic
Yes,
style.
correct.
Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, well, I sell combination sewer cleaning trucks and hydro excavators. So like, what are you talking about? I'm like, okay, so we sell sewer cleaning trucks and trucks that dig is basically kind of where I leave it as far as like a broad brush goes. But I'm still kind of figuring out what exactly to say as far as being like extremely broad or like getting into detail telling people exactly what we do. But
I was with your father one time in Portland, Oregon, and we're checking in at the hotel. And sometimes they ask, "What do you guys do? What do you do for work?" And I said, "I sell industrial vacuum trucks." And Chief looks at me and he's like, "It's okay. You can tell me sell sewer trucks." I'm like, I don't think they understand, Todd.
well, they will know if you're sitting on a plane next to somebody and you just cleaned the lift station. They figure out like this guy's doing something.
Oh, yeah. That was a bad day for me anyway.
I think all of us have like one day where we've had a demo on a Friday and we're like, we're flying home like this. This is gonna be rough.
I did that from on my way back from Southern California, and I was demoing with the city down there, and they had questions about how to vacuum and if they could run it wide open. I was like, absolutely, get that thing down there, let's go to work. And you know how fast a 5-yard will fill up.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm standing over the lift station, and I've got this thing screaming, and it fills up in like not even 2 minutes, right? But you know, when the vacuum breaker doors close,
It's coming back down. 'cause
It
there's
comes
no more
right
suction.
back down, all over me.
It's really great when it's a lift station too.
Oh,
Get
it's
that
awful.
juice going.
Yeah, and I had to get on a plane that day, and this lady was looking at me like like I was a mess or something. It was awful. I didn't even have time to change. I was trying to get home, but yeah.
So I mentioned that you're covering the West, I'm covering
Yes.
the South. So we have the same job, so to say. We're just working with different people so we work for the manufacturer,
Right.
and we have dealerships that represent our product. And we're kind of like the branch or the arm from the manufacturer of the dealership that helps them with everything.
Right.
And you cover, what's the West? What is the overarching area that you're doing?
So I cover 12 Western states
Okay.
and 4 Canadian provinces. So basically everything from Colorado west, excluding New Mexico, which
Yeah.
you
Yeah, I
cover.
have New Mexico, right.
So yeah, Alaska, Hawaii, Washington, Oregon, California, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, Colorado,
Canada's up. So you have
British Columbia
Western
to
half
Manitoba.
of
Yes.
Canada.
Yeah,
So throughout your travels doing all that stuff,
right.
what would you, if you had to like just tell one story right now, the dirtiest demo where you found yourself in the stickiest situation as far as it could be sewer, hydrovac, just one day where you were a mess.
Yeah,
Like, getting back to us having, it's funny. We talk about how it's a sales job, but we get to demo the trucks. It's,
Right.
And some of my buddies will ask me, it's like, is this a blue collar job that you're doing? It's like, it's kind of like a light blue collar. It's like I'm on the computer, but I'm also like, I could be knee deep in sewage some days, and it's just how it is.
We're on the computer once we get to the hotel at night,
Right.
and usually once you get to the hotel, you have to take a shower
Oh yeah.
because
There's some of those
this
days.
is one story. I mean, before I became a regional, I was a product manager, right, and I covered basically the whole U.S. for hydrovac and industrial.
Okay.
Back in the day, and I was in Indiana, and we're going out to do this job. I was working with Best Equipment at the time, and this guy says, "Who's going to run the truck?" And I said, "Well, I am." And he looks at me.
You're wearing your nice clothes.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a polo on, and I had probably khakis on. He said, "You're going to run this truck?" He says, "Do you even know how?" Well, I was completely covered in mud. Like I had to throw my pants away. They were
Yeah,
done.
toast.
Yeah, and it took me, I don't know how long I was in the shower getting all the rocks and dirt out of, you've been there. You've done that.
You find some in your ear, you find some in your nose, and like the crevice of your eye. You're like, I just showered, and I still got stuff everywhere.
Yeah, the worst part, it's not just, the cleanup, but walking into the hotel looking like you've been mudding. You're in there in a pigsty, right?
The bright side of that being on the hydrovac side is it's just dirt. Like it looks really bad, but like
Right.
if you walked up to that counter and said, "Oh yeah, I sell sewage trucks," and you looked like that, they're gonna be like,
Oh,
"Is
God.
that dirt?
Get him out of here. Right.
Is that dirt?"
Yeah, the sewage side is it is what it is. I mean, I'll take this every day, all day long, over sitting in front of a computer, dude. I can't.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is even hard for me sitting here at this desk. Right? like we should be out selling trucks.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we're getting to sit down. We mentioned we don't get to see each other that often. I mean, right now we're here for our dealer meeting. So we're in
Correct.
Jacksonville. We're actually in Ponte Vedra, Florida. And we have all the dealers coming in. And we get 2 times a year where the entire Vac-Con group and the entire dealer network gets to kind of hang out with each other, and it's just a good time.
Absolutely.
But we're prepping for that now. So like my height of adrenaline is like up
it's
here.
way high.
Like I'm just
I'm
amped
I'm
for
so
everything.
amped.
But it's funny feeling that because like even with what I used to do, I used to be in construction industry too, and I was just a sales rep for compact construction equipment for a Caterpillar dealer, and I didn't like live in, like if I had a big meeting, it would still be cool, but like doing this
is different.
This is way different because you got to know everything like the back of your hand pretty much.
Well, we live that every day. I mean,
Yeah.
this is exactly what we do, and this is one of my favorite times of the year is celebrating the people that are out, hitting the streets and working with us and just bringing people together. There's just something different about it,
Well,
John.
and those people are out making the relationships with our end users, and
Right.
and the cool thing about it is that you're going to. So if you're out in Southern California, you're seeing the sales reps there. Then you go out and you're in Washington, you're seeing the sales reps there.
Right.
But you never it's rare to get those sales reps together in a room and you're interacting with all of them at once. And this is one of those times. It's like this, and when we go to Indianapolis for the wet show.
Correct.
And when everybody's all together like that, it's a blast. And you kind of have to balance like, I've been here for 45 minutes. I got to go talk to these guys over here. And I'm bouncing around like a rabbit the whole time.
No, what's cool about the Vac-Con brand and the people is just we're family.
Yeah.
Is what it's seriously. Like I've got very good friends from you, John, in the South, Andy in the Midwest, right? And Jared in the Northeast, and Jody.
Newcomer, but even though he's still getting his way in. And then Jody's nationwide selling the trailers. It's just,
it is. I've been doing this since 2011 with Vac-Con, and I love it.
It's when I graduated high school. Yeah, but it's nice to get everybody together. So, one thing, as far as traveling goes, we're always on the road, Monday to Friday for the most part.
Yes.
What are some things when you're traveling around? I like to ask some traveling salespeople this because this kind of ties into not only the Vac-Con industry but the sales industry, people that travel for any type of job, service people, anything. What would be like if you had to have three things that you carry around with you all the time that are like, these are your three things to where like if you're to recommend to somebody that's traveling, like, hey, get these three things. Because I know I have some, but I might be putting you on the spot here.
No, that's fine.
So like here's an example of something. So what I do when I'm traveling all the time, and I've learned this just after a year, I was taking my bathroom kit that I travel with.
Right.
And I would take my toothbrush out. I get home, take my toothbrush out. I have my deodorant, and I'm using it at home. And then I go to travel, and then I have to put everything back in my little bathroom case. So now I just get two of everything.
That's exactly.
Two of everything. 2 toothbrushes, 2 toothpaste tubes, 2 deodorants, 2 colognes, everything I have 2 of.
Yeah.
Because that way I just put the bag there. I'm not worried about any of that stuff.
Okay. Phone chargers.
Yeah. Phone chargers.
I have 2 of everything. You're absolutely right. It doesn't go from the toiletry. Yes.
Yeah. It
I've
doesn't
got
leave
one
the
at
bag.
home. That stuff stays there, but I have my travel one, and then I have chargers for my computer.
Yep.
And that stays there at home, and then I have one that goes in the bag. Cell phones, iPad, all those chargers, and then. And I don't know if I can say this, but underwear. You always have to have extra.
No, yeah. So if you're
socks.
I do. If I'm gone for 5 days, I have 7 new pairs of underwear.
Yeah. Okay.
And if I'm leaving for 5 days, I have 6 pairs of pants.
And not to say that I've got a problem.
But it's just you never know because then something happens on Friday and they're like, "Hey, you got to
stay the weekend
for tomorrow too." And it's like,
correct.
It's not that bad to put on a reusable pants, but for some reason,
I can't
reusing an underwear is another level.
Yeah.
For some reason.
That and socks.
The socks.
Get out of here.
The socks are pretty brutal too.
Yeah, I can't do it.
But okay, so another one that I have is I use one of those portable chargers now. Now I live in it's a brick.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
heavy,
I got
right?
that. Yeah,
But I
everybody's
use
gotta have
it's like a 20,000 AH charger. I could charge my laptop twice and my phone once with it. And I have one in my demo truck that I carry around with me and one in my bag.
My bag's actually got a port where it's plugged in
and
on the side. And I just plug in everything to it. Yeah.
I mean, because we have so much stuff that's tied. I mean, the computer, the phone, the tablet, if you're on a tablet. And now I don't even, I'm completely new school with this, but I don't even keep a pen and paper in my backpack anymore. I just use like electronic tablet.
I do every now and then because one of the things that I've done is I got it's called a plod, and it's on the back of my phone, and it records if I'm in a meeting. It actually records notes, right?
Yeah.
Because I like to make eye contact with people when I'm talking to them,
and not
just write things down.
So if you're like in a certain state, you have to be like, "Hey, sir, I'm in California, and I need to let you know that I'm recording you."
Yeah, no, I don't do that. I'll never forget. I got watch, digital that pairs with your phone, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I was on a demo because it was important, right? The boss calls, right? You want to answer the phone. And I kept looking down and pressing ignore and this guy looks at me and he says, "We keeping you from something?" And I started laughing. He says, "What's so funny?" And I said, "I got this thing so I could look down instead of pulling my phone out." And of course he starts laughing at that point. I don't wear it anymore.
Well, it is funny because like I wear an Apple Watch.
Yeah.
And I go back and forth on watches all the time, but a lot of guys that don't realize, like, okay, so let's say that the public works director is 65 years old, right? When I'm going like this, looking at things, he thinks I'm checking the time.
Exactly.
He doesn't realize like I'm looking at an email really quick. Okay, I can let that go. But like and now when I'm on a demo, like I pretty much, unless this thing's like going berserk and I'm getting called like 5 times in a row, I kind of leave it at my side. But I had to learn how to do that.
Yeah, it's hard.
It is hard to ignore.
I just took the phone, the watch off, and I don't even use it. I mean, it's in my bag.
Now your watch just tells time.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, an original timepiece.
This episode is brought to you by Vac-Con. Since 1986, the mission of Vac-Con has been to support, design, and manufacture innovative vacuum and high-pressure water cleaning solutions that deliver superior performance in municipal, industrial, and utility markets worldwide through their global dealer network. Today, their family of products include combination machines, industrial vacuum loaders, jetters, and hydro excavators that are used in an array of diverse applications by companies in the construction, oil and gas, mining, safety, and environmental industries. These machines are equipped to handle the toughest of jobs in the harshest of conditions. No matter the industry, Vac-Con's world-class industrial vacuum trucks and trailers are guaranteed to save you time, money, and effort. To learn more or to find your local dealer, visit Vac-Con online at www.vac-con.com.
But so when we're going through this week, it's going to be fun. We're going to get to hang out and see everybody. What is one thing that you're super excited to show people? So I know that we have some control systems and stuff coming out that are a little bit different. We won't get into the weeds about it, but I just like, there's certain people that I know I'm like, oh, this thing being painted differently this way is going to like really turn this guy on type of thing. What is like something that's really...
Well, I'm really excited about the new HMI on the Pro Reel, of course. Yeah. And then the new controls that we have coming out. Yeah. I can't wait for the dealers to see this.
So you're talking, there's these it's the dual joystick digital control system that has kind of been something completely new for us, but it pairs well with everything that we're doing because, we run it on the Pro Reel, and then we have the classic controls, which is completely different. That's just 12-volt hardwire controls, which is like for somebody that's like, I don't want to mess with computers. We still offer that too, but it gives you so much capabilities as far as the proportions go. So a lot of guys are going to be excited about that. I think that's going to be something cool to show everybody and kind of spend some time on and kind of bring the people that are selling our product in here and be like, all right, guys, we're giving you some ammunition here to get out there.
Let's go.
And fire you up. So that's a cool thing to put on the side. So I know that we went through kind of your arc here. Started with your dad. Yep. And he was at Vac-Con. And I remember him from back in the day. Yeah. And you started off as that product specialist. Now, how long were you that product specialist before you transitioned to being a regional manager?
If I remember correctly, John, it's probably 4 or 5 years. Okay. My old man, he had set a retirement date, but then he wouldn't leave. Yeah. And I was like, wait a minute. I didn't sign up for this. I'm kidding. But
so wait, did you start as like a demo guy first?
No.
So you started as the product specialist because you had a background in everything because you were at EnviroClean. Yeah. So you so typically how everything goes, you'd be a sales tech or a demo specialist. Correct. Then you jump into being a product specialist, but you pretty much jumped over that because you already knew the product. So
I grew up
started off there. You grew up around it, and then so your whole deal was like, "Hey, pops, you got to retire because I want to be a regional." But he was
eventually,
he was hogging it up.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, I grew up with the trucks parked out front of our house. Yep. And we would help them wash it because that was a big deal for us as little kids, right?
Yeah, you get to use the handgun from the truck. You're like, what's the deal with this thing? It's got water, and you cleaning the truck with.
We
the
didn't
truck?
even know.
Yeah.
Some guy said, I'll never forget. My buddy in high school said to my old man, he tells my dad, sounds like a shitty job, and he says, that's bread and butter to me, buddy.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and he did. He put us through high school and college, and he vacations. I mean, incredible job working for Vac-Con.
So this is something that and it's funny how many dealerships are like this, and Vac-Con by itself.
Yes.
It's all, there's family ties everywhere, right?
So big.
So when I started, I was in the Northeast, and I think every single dealership that I had, except for one new dealership I brought on,
Right.
was family run.
Yeah.
And, I work with my dad now. We're separated because he's the president, and then there's a sales manager, and then me. So it's not like I have to report to my dad.
Correct.
But one question that's going to be popular that I ask a lot of people when they sit down with me is, how was it working with your dad? What were there any times that were like weird? The fact that you're going on demos with your dad, or like what was the dynamic like?
With my father?
Yeah. Like when you're working with him, like.
So I made it a point. I didn't want anyone to think that I got preferential treatment because of my father, right? And so I made sure that I called him Terry.
Yeah.
And he.
That's why I call my dad Chief.
Yeah.
I don't want to, hey, Dad.
Yeah, you don't say dad, right?
Yeah.
And this is a good story. We were on a demo in Eastern Washington, and I'm calling him Terry, and we're running around the truck. We're putting tubes, we're stacking tubes together, we're getting clamps, and I wanted to make sure I was on point. I wanted to impress him, right? And it's chaotic. We're trying to get everything done real quick.
Make it look easy.
Yeah, simple. And he says, no joke, he says, hey, honey, go grab that. And I stopped, like mid-step, and I've closed my eyes, and I was like, great.
Oh, boy.
And, of course, all these guys were like, what? Did he just call you honey? And I was like, all right, guys, he's my dad, all right? And I wanted to keep that separate, but yeah.
And then they were like, why'd your dad just call you honey?
Right, that was the other part. I looked at him, and I was like, what are you doing?
Because it's funny, like when we're in the office and stuff, or at a dealer meeting like this, like I don't ever like, hey, Dad. I just go straight to hey, Chief.
Yeah.
That way I can't. It's weird calling him Todd.
Yeah.
It's weird calling him Dad.
Yeah.
So I got to come up with some nickname in there.
That was perfect.
Yeah.
I finally
Honey's probably not
honey.
one
Yeah, I
of
was like this. I was like, what are you doing? So I had trained with him for like 4 to 5 months. Back in the day, he and I were father and son, obviously. We'd share a room. And I got to the point where I was like, I see this guy every day, Monday through Friday, and then, we would go and have family dinner on Sunday. We'd bring the kids over, and I would see him so much. I went to Chief, and I was like, I need to get out of here. I like we got to separate. Like, I need to breathe.
You need a Terry break. A little bit too much.
Right. It was good though. I mean, it obviously brought us closer, but that guy, he taught me a lot.
Well, that's one thing that, like, when I started at Vac-Con, one thing I realized, I didn't know anything about Vac-Con.
Right.
I always tell people, like, I grew up with it or whatnot. I didn't know what a fan versus a PD blower was. I didn't know really what a combination sewer cleaner was. I didn't know what hydro excavation was. Before I started, I had this rudimentary understanding of all this, right? So when I started working at Vac-Con, I can say now, 4 years in, just about 4 years in, I've gotten to know my dad in such a different way.
Yes.
Because I've realized, okay, he's been here for 35 years, whatever, however many years he's been. And I'm like, wow, when I was a kid, he was doing all this complex stuff that I had no idea
what he was doing.
What he was doing.
Yeah.
And it's given me so much more background on his type of personality, how he does things in sales and operation.
Right.
And, I remember one of my first days, he hopped in a Vac-Con, and I hadn't got my CDL yet. I was still, like, in learning permits time. And he's driving the truck, like, honk, honk. And I'm like, that's hilarious. But in reality, looking back on it, it's like that he's driven that truck for thousands of hours more than I have.
Since the inception of Vac-Con, right? Yeah, that's funny. You get a different perspective. You see your father at home, right? And completely different dude.
Oh, yeah.
He's dad.
Yeah.
but they didn't work. I was like, this guy's awesome.
It gives
right?
you it gives
Yes.
you a weird
It makes-
appreciation of
Correct.
what he's been doing for all this time, and
Right.
you didn't have any insight.
No
into that.
clue what
But
he
when
was
you're
doing.
working with your dad, it gives you a weird background into
Yeah.
their life that you didn't know
Right.
about before.
Yeah.
And so like when I'm telling my brother about it, I'm like, dude, you have no
doesn't
idea.
get it. Yeah.
Like it is hilarious to see some of the things that happen around the office because it's such dad things. But when you pair it with work dad
Yeah.
and him
It's
doing
awesome.
that, it makes 100% sense that he's being the way that he is. But nobody here realizes that he's just like that at home too.
Yeah. Well, he treats us all like family. So
Yeah.
that's the best part about it.
It's been really cool for me, and in a way, I think it's helped me to be like, okay, just how you said that you didn't want anybody like like I don't ever introduce myself as like, hey, I'm John Mosley, I'm the son of the president.
I'm
type of
just
thing.
John, right.
But it's made me work harder because
Yes.
I don't want anybody to think, oh, this slack ass is
yeah.
coming
There
in
you
and,
go. Yeah.
and he's the president's son. Don't pay him any mind type of thing. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I want to like step it up even more than that, so that it's just helped me like kind of create a road at Vac-Con and prove myself because I didn't have a choice.
Right.
It's been really cool going through that process. But it's all when I sit down with somebody that's working for Trias or Atlantic Machinery or CM,
Right.
They are all the same scenario. They have
Yeah.
a father and son or father, son, and daughter,
Yeah.
and they are running the company the same exact way where they had to have a little baptism in there too, where they came to work and they're
Well,
like, oh, dad's really controlling the roost here. I got to figure out how to navigate this and do this the right
Right.
way. I'm sure people are going to be like that.
I don't know. I mean, I've got the same scenario. I mean, even on the West Coast with MME, EnviroClean when they started. It's WestVac up in
Yep.
in Canada.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really nice to see family members working together towards the same end goal, just like us.
Yeah.
Well,
and it's interesting to see the generational like change in it too, because I can't when just coming straight to Vac-Con, it's kind of like, oh, you guys, we need to figure out this computer thing. Right. It's not that it was bad, but it's like okay, I did things way differently on the computer than what we were doing right now. So I got to figure out the whole connection here and figure out how we do. But the generational changes, because I know just talking with Atlantic Machinery, you got Trevor, T, and Chip. And Chip, he's on the phone doing stuff on the phone all the time. T's the same way, but Trevor, he grew up in a completely different timeline.
Right.
So as
probably
that,
a ledger book
yeah,
about this thing.
as that business has changed over time, the next generation is kind of like, okay, we got to modify all this stuff and bring it kind of in the new age, and each generation is going to have to like play around with that as it goes. But it's cool to see family members that go through that and have the different gauge of changing things and modifying them.
Yeah, I think, John, that's one thing that sets us apart. I'm not just talking about Vac-Con, but our dealers, where, everybody, again, whether we're blood related or not, we're all family.
Yeah.
And we all work towards making it happen. And that's what sets us apart from anybody else. That's how I feel.
Well, and it's funny, like this dealer meeting is pretty much like, it's kind of like a reunion.
Yeah, that's exactly
And we
what
get
it
to have
is.
one once a year, and then at the wet show, it's the same thing, except everybody's on point and everybody's doing it with a bigger group of people.
Yeah, we're
with all of our
absolutely-
end users there too.
We're absolutely celebrating our successes.
Yeah.
Right?
And,
that-
we get to all hang out and learn stuff and kind of just engage with people that we don't. I don't get to see the MME guys that often,
Yeah.
but I get to see them this week, and
Right.
in Indianapolis is kind of like the 2 weeks I get to see them.
Yeah.
But it's cool to get the old reunion together every single time.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
cool.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Can't wait to kick it off tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night's gonna be fun. What else? You got anything crazy happening?
Yeah, just starting a new year, man. Got to hit the ground running. You know that. We've been doing this for quite some time, and we're gonna keep trucking. And
Yeah.
we're gonna sell some trucks.
It'll be interesting to see, all this, media stuff. I think it's going to help us in the long run as far as getting our name out there. But I really think the best thing about, the VacconJohn show, us sitting here and doing this,
Right.
the biggest thing for me is being able to get stories, like the stories that we talk about all the time.
Yeah.
Like when we go to dinner and we're talking all these Vac-Con stories, I just think about those, and I don't want them to get lost.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
when I sit and I'm talking with T, or I'm talking with Russell Sen, or I'm talking with Mike Wood at Southern Sewer, and we're sitting over dinner, we're talking about all these stories and all of this learning experiences that they've had, and they're passing it down to me verbally. I'm like, man, we got to figure out a way to capture it.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stories we can't tell.
Yeah, it will be smart. I'll have to edit some things here and there.
Yeah,
know.
you got the beep button.
We'll
Right,
We'll have to
exactly.
do that every once in a while,
Right.
but no.
I mean,
but
you get people in here. I mean, even from the Vac-Con side, you get Brad Zangler, Mike Selby, and they come in talking about some of the things that
we
they've
might need to tie Brad up to get him in here because he does not want to do it, but we're gonna figure it out. Now we'll entice him some way or another. But
I mean, some of from washing out a rental car with a 3-yard at a dealer meeting. I mean, some of those things are they're classic.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And that's what sets us apart and makes us, I think, superior to anybody because it's the people, right? And there's nothing we can't do. I enjoy, I enjoy Vac-Con and all you guys, and
yeah.
so.
Well, thank you for sitting down on the old VacconJohn show.
Right.
We get to sit down. We're gonna be together all week. We might even record some more stuff.
Cool.
But my whole thought is let's get these stories captured. So
Yeah,
it's been
absolutely.
cool. It's been cool kind of getting the no-finger-mike background and to hear about the territory, stuff that's going on. But thanks again for sitting down.
Thanks, John.